is the Revisionary Podcast with your host, Juan Carlos. The Revisionary Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Revisionary Podcast. And as always, I'm your host, Juan Carlos. First and foremost, thank you again for coming back for another episode. You guys are honestly the best people ever. So thank you for that. If this is your first time listening to the Revisionary Podcast, the way this works is I bring on guests, usually comedians, who come on and tell nonfiction stories about their lives and wish things had gone a little bit differently. Afterwards, I give them an opportunity to tell the same exact story, but this time they can make any changes about any details or facts that they want about their story. So it's kind of an opportunity to redo it if you could, put them in that little time machine and gives them a chance to go back in time and change whatever they would change. Then we discuss the impact of the changes that they've made. I'm really excited because I love this concept. And as always, this is my favorite time of week when I get to speak to somebody and then we get to go ahead and release the episodes for you guys to listen in. So our next guest is not a comedian, which, again, I know you guys love the not a comedian episodes because I know it's a nice change of pace. This person is actually a storyteller, a professional storyteller, and she's an artist in every way, shape, and form. Honestly, she does so many different sorts of arts and expressions. She's super talented. So I'm actually really excited that she's agreed to come on the Revisionary Podcast. Her name is Nina Lesiga, and quite honestly, I'm just excited because I like the storytellers because the emphasis is more on the technique, and they're I find that storytellers tend to just know how to evoke emotion, so they are a little more dramatic, and I really like that. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and see if we can get Nina on the line. Hey, Nina, how are you?
I'm so excited today to have the opportunity to work with you.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on because you're actually a fan of the podcast, which is wonderful. I love that.
Yeah, I think I've seen them all up until now.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So what have you been up to lately?
Oh, I've been storytelling, perform virtually these days, a few live performances, and also teaching ukulele to large groups virtually on Zoom. Yeah, and you have an interesting background with the ukulele, right? Could you tell us a little bit more about that? Yeah, well, originally I'm a classical guitarist, and one day about 5 years ago, I woke up and decided it was a ukulele emergency. So I just went to the nearest store and bought one, then joined a group, played a few times and said, I love this. And I said, I'm dedicated. I'm going to do more ukulele. So I actually started teaching it at schools and universities, after school programs, and it just totally took off. And why the ukulele? Because when I think of the ukulele, I'm imagining some hipster out in Portland who just wants to talk about their feelings. Oh, I just feel it's such a happy instrument. It's really portable, and it's kind of really zen. Zen meaning that when you strum it, it's vibrating, and it just makes you feel really good and makes other people feel excited and good. And you don't have to be terrific. You just have to be sort of okay. People get excited just that someone's playing the ukulele. See, nothing that you said has changed my mind about hipster from Portland. You see what I'm saying? It's all going together. So that's really wonderful. And you've been telling stories for quite some time now. Yes, I hit the stage 6 years ago, and it was after I was walking on the beach and found a message in a Coke bottle. And this was a dream of mine come true. It was from a little boy, and he said he wanted this bottle to go really far. And he actually put in the water the day before, and it went less than a mile. So I said, well, let me see if I can help you. And so I contacted him. Then I tossed another note in the bottle and threw it out. It got found a second time. It went across the Long Island Sound. I'm located in Connecticut by a couple, and they actually put in a third note, and now it's lost at sea. It was it was so excited. It's I finally have this big story to tell, because it's about this little boy creating all these chains of happiness to other people. And what he taught me is that impossible dreams come true, and that I wasn't dreaming big enough. So here I am. See, that's so wonderful. I enjoy your vibe. Let me tell you something.
This is the first time I've actually had the opportunity to meet Nina, and it's been nothing but positive vibes. Like, it's all like positive. I'm really enjoying just your persona. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
So why don't we go ahead and jump right into it. Nina, the stage is yours. Go ahead and tell us your story.
Okay, first I want to tell you a disclaimer. This story is not intended to be medical advice or a product and endorsement.
I'm going to co-sign that and say that if you're listening to the Visionary podcast, none of the stories are ever meant to be a medical advice. I am not a doctor. In fact, I am the anti-doctor. If I give you medical advice, do the opposite. That's probably safer.
I will never forget the look of extreme pleasure on his face. It was 2015, and I was on a cruise vacation in the Caribbean. I just spent the day at a Grenadian beach, and I was hot and tired. And right by the cruise ship was a local Shake Shack. That's where they make smoothie drinks. And I step in. I'm the only tourist in this shop. And I order a soursop shape. And as I walk away from the counter, I see this man in his 20s dressed in a business attire, a nice shirt and pants. And he's holding this coffee-colored shake. And he is inhaling this shake as quickly as he can with this look of ecstasy on his face. And I said to him, "What flavor?" He said, "Guinness and seaweed." "Is it good?" He nods yes without coming up for air. And I think to myself, I can't imagine what that tastes like, but I want one. Well, my ship was about to leave, and so I said, I'll have to try and find one at the next stop. And that was St. Lucia. It was our last stop on the itinerary. So I went around St. Lucia, and whenever I can, bumped into people. I said, "Hey, I'd really like to get myself one of those Guinness and seaweed shakes. Can you tell me where I can find them?" And everyone said no. And they looked at me really strangely. So on my taxi back from the beach to the cruise ship, I confided to my driver. I said, "You know what? I'm a little bit disappointed. I had a great day here, but I wanted some, seaweed and Guinness shakes." And everybody looks at me like there's something wrong with me. And he laughs. He goes, "Oh, they are a male love potion. They're not made for women." And I said, "Oh, thank you." And I kind of stayed silent for the rest of the ride. But when I got home, I asked a friend, a personal chef. Her name is Raquel, and she is all into healthy cooking. And I asked her, "Do you know anything about Caribbean aphrodisiacs?" And she said, "Oh, not really, but I have a friend who might. His name is Bootleg Greg. He's a mixologist." Yeah. And so I write to him on his website. He gets back to me right away, and we talk on the phone. And he said, "Oh, yeah, my daddy, I'm from Jamaica. My daddy was a root man, and he knew all about natural products and herbs. And what you're talking about is called sea moss. It's also known as Irish moss. It's harvested by the fishermen in not too deep water and then dried and sold about on the roadside. And we make these shakes at home, but you can also buy them pre-made. The most popular brand is called Big Bamboo. And so about the Irish moss, the whole idea about the Irish moss is to strengthen the core and the back, which means it improves sexual performance. And I want to let you know, it doesn't just work for men, it works for women too. And I used to live nearby where you live in Connecticut, and you can buy it in the next town. It goes under the brand name of Big Bamboo. So it's really clear what the product is intended intended to do. Another popular brand is called Front End Lifter. And he goes on to give me a roadmap of who I can talk to and what stores I should visit in that next town. And I thank him profusely. And we get off the phone. I hop in my car and I start. And the first place is called Roots Man's Kitchen. And I go, I am really very psyched out. I think I'm going to get my beverage right there. And I go into the store. It's a little takeout place. And I said to him, I'm looking for Irish moss drinks. Do you have any? And I get this really strange look. He goes, no, I don't think we do. But I hear they're healthy for you. They improve your circulation and they're good for the nervous system. But what I'm seeing, this look on his face, he's like, lady, mind your manners. Do you know you're talking about the natural form of Viagra? Well, I didn't get any shake. I was a little bit disappointed. And Greg had told me that people will talk to me. No worries. Don't be afraid to go out there and ask people about this beverage. So I went the next place on the list, and that was the International Supermarket. And I entered the market, and I find a can of the Big Bamboo, and I put it in the crook of my hand. Then I walk into the spice aisle saying, I want to get the raw ingredients to also make the home concoction of the Big Bamboo, but I can find all the ingredients but one. And so I go to an elderly lady who's dressed like a home care worker. She's over in the refrigerated section. I go, excuse me, ma'am, I'm looking for the icing glass. I want to make Irish moss shakes. Do you know how to make them? She goes, no, I never make them. They're too hard to make. I always buy the ready-made, and she's looking directly at the can that's in the crook of my shoulder. And I kind of see her with a little twinkle in her eye. And I said, well, the reason why I'm asking about this is that I'm doing some research for public service. There are a lot of senior citizens in Connecticut that don't know the bedroom benefits of Irish moss beverages. And she says, oh, they're really healthy for you. And I kind of got the feeling she was far away thinking of something very romantic. And I said to her, how do you use this Big Bamboo? Do you just drink it straight out of the can, or do you mix it? She goes, oh, no. You take it and you mix it with the Guinness and you add oats and put it in a blender. I'm going like Quaker? And she goes, yeah. And then you just mix it all up and then drink it. And I said, thank you. So I walked away realizing that the reason for my success was that I was less direct. I asked in a kind, gentle way, woman to woman, please help me learn about the Irish moss drinks. And so I bought lots of them. I mixed lots of them. And I shared them with my friends, close and otherwise. And what I want to let you know is that they really work.
Do they now? Wow.
Yeah. Have you ever had one?
No. I've never experimented with any of that stuff. Maybe I should. I don't know. Wow. So what about that story would you change?
What about the story would change? Well, the beginning of the story would be the same, that I'd enter the Shake Shack and I see this guy in Euphoria, and I get back on the cruise ship and I go to St. Lucia, And the difference in the story starts to take place when I get into the cab with the driver.
So,
and
go ahead.
Yeah, so the conversation goes like this. Hi, how are you? He goes, fine. He goes, did you have a great day? Yeah, but I'm a little curious. Every time I ask someone about this Irish moss drink and that I want to get some, they give me strange looks. And he goes, oh, that's because it's a male love potion. It doesn't work on women.
Right.
I thought, oh, really? So tell me more. He goes, we make them home all the time. We add some Guinness and this Irish moss beverage and oats, and it's very well known. And there's actually some that's, sold locally near the cruise port. And I said to him, oh, do you think I could pick some up as souvenirs? I know my friends would love to get a little taste of this one back home. And he goes, well, where's home? I said, I live in the tri-state area. He goes, you can buy this stuff in New York City, Connecticut, and New Jersey. No problem. You don't have to carry this all back with you.
Right.
He goes, and we really strongly believe in this as a libido booster. And it's just part of our culture. And so I said, well, thank you. And when I got home, I realized I wanted to find this. I wanted a bounty of this stuff. So I went to my international supermarket that's in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and I couldn't find any. And so they go over the intercom, hey, does anybody know where to find Big Bamboo?
So in the retelling, you want, it broadcasted to the entire store.
Yeah, well, yeah, because all the Jamaican people in the store looking at me, pointed at me. It's like, got problems in the bedroom, hon? And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, thank you. They didn't have it. It wasn't that I couldn't find it. They couldn't have it. Right. And so I contacted the supplier. The beauty of the internet. I found out who the distributor was, and I wrote an email. And what I got, the answer I got back is that I could purchase it in Hartford, Connecticut, which is an hour away from where I live. So I decided, well, next time I have a job in Hartford, Connecticut, I'll go and get some Big Bamboo. So time came, and it wasn't right near where I was working, and so I wanted to make sure that they had a good supply of it. So I called ahead of time. I go, hi, my name is Nina, and I'm looking for this energy drink called Big Bamboo. Do you have any? And she goes, why are you asking? I go, well, I hear it's an aphrodisiac, and I want to do a little research study about it. She goes, well, hold on, let me check on the shelves. And she does, and she comes back, and she goes, oh, we have plenty of it. How many do you want? I go, at least a dozen cans, please. I'll put them away on the side for you. And I go to the supermarket, and I get those cans. And after performing, I go home and I meet up with my boyfriend, and we're hanging out, it was a good vibe. And he goes, I'm kind of thirsty. And I said, oh, let me mix you a boozy, delicious cocktail. How does that sound? Very refreshing. He says, bring it on. And so I make him a glass and bring it to him. And he says, oh, this is so delicious. And before I know it, I'm realizing that it's true, that it does have bedroom benefits, but not just for men, for women too. Oh my. And we really enjoyed our stash of Big Bamboo, but eventually it ran out. And I went on vacation again on my own, just like last time. And I took a cruise vacation that stopped again in St. Lucia. And on the way back to the cruise ship, I noticed in the duty-free liquor store that they were giving samples of rum. And I said, well, what kind of samples of rum are you offering? She goes, well, we have 2 spiced rums and then, regular rum. But one of the spiced rums, my boyfriend swears by it. He said it works really well for him. And I go, oh, you mean it's aphrodisiac? She goes, and then some. And so I said, yeah, can I taste the aphrodisiac rum? She goes, oh, no, not made for women. And I'm like going, it's okay. I want to buy some. I want to taste it before I buy it. And they're starting to become a queue, mostly men behind me. And they're all shouting out, let her have it, let her have it, let her have it. And so I take this shot of the spiced rum and it like burns my throat and goes down. But it's got like this lovely flavor. I go, well, you know what? If this doesn't work, this is going to be fun to drink anyway. So I buy 2 bottles. And when I get home, I'm meeting again at my boyfriend's house. And I gifted him a bottle of rum. And he goes to me, I'm kind of thirsty. So, oh, let me make you a nice boozy beverage. And so I mix for him spiced rum and orange juice on the rocks. And he's loving it. And he just like slurping that down. And before long, I saw that there were bedroom benefits for the spiced rum. And I kept making this beverage for him. I had a bottle at my house too. So I kept making this beverage for him until it ran out. And then I started crafting a story about sexy beverages and how I discovered these fountains of youth. And every time I told these stories, audience members would come up to me and said, where can I buy that? Tell me more. And so I did. And the idea came into me that I could use this further. I was getting invitations to be a bartender at private parties and events where people wanted me to mix up sexy beverages. And I'm like so surprised at this. And like the work is coming regularly. So I said, you have to do something with this. You have to run with this. And so I buy a food truck and I fix it up like this Caribbean tiki kind of bar. Right. And you could hire me. I pull up into your driveway and I create the aphrodisiac cocktail of your desire. I decide to name the truck the Revisionary Cocktail.
Oh my gosh.
Tasty, and natural.
Oh my gosh.
Well, before long, PBS, that's a public broadcasting system, sure, knocks on my door, Connecticut Public TV, and said, we hear you have a very interesting business. We'd like to do a 30-minute segment about this. And I said, sure, will do. And I do it. And they love it so much that they make it a series. And the series name is The Aphrodisiac Hunter. And I go to different locations and I develop different vacation scenarios where you can visit all these islands and not only enjoy the island, but have sexy cocktails.
Right.
And this gentleman, his name was Juan Carlos. He saw one of the episodes and he invited me to be on his podcast. And I said yes. And his podcast had been really gaining momentum and the readership numbers were just doubling and tripling and going exponentially. But the series between me and Juan Carlos, we just like hit the chemistry between the chat and the banter and the laughs that the episode went viral.
Right.
You did. It went viral.
I like this revision.
Yeah. And so what happened next is HBO knocked on our doors and they want to do HBO special of me and Juan Carlos telling funny stories, and we say yes. So stay tuned for more information. Watch this space because we're producing it right now.
So I think it's interesting. First of all, let's dig into this a little bit. You went from, a trip out into the Caribbean to essentially hosting key parties, like they used to do back in the day, to owning your own business. Like, the progressions in your story and your career choices is fascinating. Let's start with the key party. Why the key party? Is that strictly for marketing purposes and is a way to grow your business, or is it just like a connector? Like,
no, I had read about this pizza truck business that like really grew exponentially. I'm an entrepreneur at my heart.
Right.
And besides being a chemist, I also owned a dancing school and a music school. And I just saw this as an opportunity to, again, just like the ukulele, to expand my knowledge and then to make people happy. It's just to deliver joy. And I kind of saw it, these tea parties, as they do like sexy lingerie parties, where it just brings people together and relaxes them and gives them something to talk about. And then I also, just invite people to talk about this subject. And you know what? I started to get a reputation. They were calling me the aphrodisiac doula.
Wow. Okay. I guess that's a step away from the aphrodisiac Sherpa, right? Where you're just guiding people on this aphrodisiac, I don't even know if that's the word, journey. Yeah.
So the thing is, again, I just wanted to find ways to become famous, and so I was looking to be the Dr. Ruth Westheimer of sexy beverages. That if you have trouble with the bedroom, I can suggest you which cocktail might work best for you.
So when you started this whole adventure, right, and this whole story, it seems like you weren't even looking for this shake. You kind of just stumbled upon it. What was your going into it? What was your mindset? Were you just looking to have like a good local like shake? Like, what was going on there?
Oh, I always go off the beaten track. I go into all kinds of places, and it wasn't actually my first time in that Shake Shack, but it was my first time because I'd been multiple times on cruise ships in Grenada. But it just seemed like there's something to this story. And so I'm always going to find out what I wanted to go off the tourist beaten trail. And it's wild. All you had to do is steps from the cruise ship. And there was this story. And so I'm just looking every day to have exceptional experiences. Because another thing I do in the Caribbean is I bring things to barter. And this helps with beach vending, meaning that if someone will come and you want to buy a necklace, you want to buy a T-shirt, you want to buy a hat. No, I actually want to barter.
And that works?
Yes, I want to trade.
What do you trade?
I want to trade. And so that brings half of the vendors stop coming to me. Oh. And then they start talking about me. And then the people who are interested, we try. And, I'm not looking to trade up. I'm just looking to take something I don't want and get something for it. I can't tell you, I brought a Yankee baseball cap to Grenada, and people love that. They're very into baseball. Like, people were willing to do almost anything for that baseball cap. And it was just like very interesting to be able to talk to people peer to peer rather than tourist to peer, because I was a salesperson too.
That is interesting. And I guess I find that a little surprising, but it shouldn't surprise me, the extent of American culture and how it influences other countries. But that is a very interesting thing to me. So now, I've been to St. Lucia, and St. Lucia is a beautiful country.
How was your experience there?
First off, St. Lucia is one of my favorite places that I've had an opportunity to visit. I went with one of my best friends, and our first night there, it was a Friday night. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of the little town because I knew how to pronounce it at the time, but I don't anymore. It was like Grosislet, I think it was, or something like that. And they have a Friday night like it was almost like a fish fry, I believe is what it was, or like an outdoor cooking every single Friday was my understanding. And I remember just being out there, and there's just like people from all over the world, and everyone's just outside and buying food and going in and out of bars. And it was one of the funnest activities that I've had an opportunity to do on vacation, because I didn't go there with, I was there for a wedding, you know, so I didn't go there with any expectations. I was kind of like, yeah, I'll just go, I'll check it out, whatever happens, happens. And so many unexpected things happened that were so much fun that I look upon those memories very fondly. I'm very glad that, like you said, I kind of went off the beaten path, and, I just kind of asked locals, like, what should I do? What would you do? And just did exactly what they recommended, and ended up having a very good time.
Yeah, because I've also gone to St. Lucia, where just went to it when I was younger, and all inclusive, and never went off the property. And like
right.
that's like not St. Lucia.
I agree. You kind of have to get that authentic experience. I mean, here's the thing, right? St. Lucia is a very safe country, right? Let me just throw that out there. But also, like, I also understand the hesitancy by some people to not want to explore, because I think the most inherent thing about danger is not the danger itself, but rather the unknown. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up in New York. You grew up in New York. Like, you know where the dangerous neighborhoods are and where the dangerous areas are, so you know to avoid them. So I'm sure that just like me, you probably moved through New York with a sense of safety. Whereas when you're in a different country, you don't know which areas you need to avoid. And that's where the danger comes in. But it's also like, by doing that, you're limiting yourself to like not being able to experience all these wonderful experiences and all these natural beauties and like this wonderful culture that you're trying to immerse yourself in when you travel.
Well, I think growing up and living most of my life in Brooklyn, New York, was really eye-opening, in that I think more than neighborhoods, I got the sense of what was good behavior and what wasn't good behavior. And so I have a very good gut sense of a feel that I'm okay. And a lot of my customers in my dancing school and music studio were Caribbean. And every year they would say, "What are you going on vacation? You got to go visit my country." And so I had all kinds of insights and recommendations. And I think mostly if you're going vacation and you just your heart is open to experience and absorb the culture and be curious, you're just going to get that positive energy right there. And, that's when the fun starts. And I've traveled quite a bit. I had a global job for 30 years as a chemist in a corporation, and I just learned real quick how to acclimate to places and be comfortable in my own skin. You have to be good company to yourself. I was in St. Vincent, and people were waiting for a ferry, to put their truck on the ferry. And it's like a lot of people on this truck, and like, look, it was getting hot, and I wanted to take a photo of them, but I didn't want to ask them without being friendly with them. So I started talking to them. They had time to kill. They were waiting for the ferry.
Right.
And I go, "Oh, by the way, I have some extra candy and gum. Would you like it?" "Oh, yeah. Oh, this is really, really good. Oh, by the way, can I take your photograph?" And he goes, yeah. And I also do things like there'll be a vendor, and I don't buy anything for him, but I go and gift him something. Mm-hmm. Like, I had these little teeth that go like a wind-up animal, up and down and down. And this guy, I didn't want anything he had to offer, and go, "But it's holiday time. Merry Christmas to you," and give him a wind-up toy. So like, it's those little moments, that make or break your experience. And so this is all very intentional, by the way, because what happened to me is one day I woke up wondering why I couldn't travel enough. I felt the best when I was traveling in my life. And so I finally figured out that it really didn't have to do with going away with a place in particular. It was just that when I wasn't home, I could totally be myself. There was no one watching. I could do what I wanted, say what I wanted, and that made me really feel good. And so I brought that learning back. And so it doesn't matter where I travel now. It could be in my town or to New York City. I bring that experience of adventure and be playful, and just be as careful as I can. But if it is my last day on earth, it's my last day on earth. At least I had fun doing it.
You know what? That's a very positive perspective to take. And I mean, yeah, you're right. Like, I was having a conversation with someone yesterday where I mentioned, I was like, if you're not living life, then you're just waiting to die. So there's an element of that. And, and I respect that. I have a lot of respect for that point of view.
Yeah, so this is where my second career has gone. Like people say, well, what do you do? I'm a storyteller, I'm a ukulelist, but the biggest bucket of all that is experience design. Mm-hmm. And I create immersive and entertaining experiences, whether it's for classroom or learning or just having fun. I try and get people to come with me outside the comfort zone, because that's where the real endorphins are, that makes you feel good, that makes you feel happy and makes you feel joyful. I want as much of that now, more now than ever, in my life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As I'm sure you already know, because again, you've actually listened to the podcast, we have a tradition here on the Revisionary podcast of ending every episode by asking for like a short story from your childhood that puts a smile on your face. Do you have a story like that you can share with us?
Sure. Okay, I'm 5 years old and it's 1961 and I'm in Brooklyn, New York, living with my family and my grandmother, who I call Baba. She's a petite woman with long chestnut brown hair with the bun in the back and a pompadour on the top, and she wears this floral babushka. And she had chickens as pets. And her favorite chicken was Vanya. And he was a bantam rooster with orange and green feathers with the black. And he wasn't just beautiful. He had a stunning personality. He had visiting rights. Unlike the other chickens, Baba would let him come up from the backyard, up the stairs to her first floor apartment, which always smelled like chicken soup. It was a diet staple for her, the cats, and Vanya. And I was always perplexed. Why, Baba? Why are there always less chickens? There always just seem to be chickens disappearing from from the backyard. And she goes, oh, they died. So one day I was enjoying her chicken soup and it didn't taste right. But rather than say it didn't taste right, I asked her, Baba, could you tell me how to make this soup? She goes, oh, yeah, sure. You need onions and you need carrots and celery and rice and chicken. And in this soup is Vanya. And I'm like going,
oh, no.
Oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. And then I realized I felt good because I felt grown up that she told me the truth.
Yeah.
But then it didn't end there. It was Thanksgiving a few days, and my step grandfather, he brought a live turkey, and it was in the backyard. And my mother, she woke me up, Ninachka, go see what's outside. And I see it's a live turkey, big, black and white with feathers, and his name is Gobble Gobble. And he didn't visit long.
Uh-huh.
We served him for Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
And it was quite a fiasco because my family didn't know how to process turkeys, because once you pluck the feathers, there's all this fuzz. Mm-hmm. So my father had a grand idea of using a blowtorch, and it still couldn't get the fuzz off the turkey. And so my mother said to the guests, oh, this year we're eating gourmet. We're going to eat skinless turkey. And so just 2 days later, I was in the backyard, and one of our all the backyards faced each other like a tenement house.
Right.
And our back door, our neighbor comes up to the fence with these polka dot chicks. Mm-hmm. And he goes, lady, to my Baba, I went hunting and I have turkeys, baby turkeys. Would you like them? And me and my sisters going, please, Baba, can we have the baby turkeys? They were beautiful chicks. And he passes them through the fence in his hands to our hands. Baba says yes. But as those turkeys grew up, they acted rather strangely. They started to line up and try to fly like an airstrip, like an airplane down our narrow backyard over the fence, but they couldn't. And the ones that were waiting in the queue started biting us until our legs were bleeding. We go, Baba, 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 what's the matter? What's with these monster turkeys? And she says, oh, I think they're seagulls. And we're going, seagulls, and everybody's like out of their windows, they're laughing their rear ends off because they're like going, they're always watching us. And so she did the right thing. She kept feeding them until they matured. She loved feeding them hot dogs, because then as the hot dog went down, it would be like peristalsis down the throat. They get stuck in their throat. And eventually we went and released them to Prospect Park in Brooklyn. And weekly, she would go back with me with a package of Frankfurters and hold them up in her two hands. Mm-hmm. And the seagulls would come dive bomb and eat those Frankfurters. And she would go, there's Petrushka, there's Vanya, there's Olga. My seagulls recognize me. And in that moment, I realized how grateful I was to grow up in this unusual family and all these family traditions, so different from our neighbors. And so next Thanksgiving, we sat around the table. We served lobster.
Nice.
And I was so grateful because I didn't know my entree's first name. So the name of that story is called Love a Fowl. Fowl.
I like that. I like
and
that.
And so you weren't allowed. You're not allowed to raise. You weren't allowed to raise chickens in the backyard. It was totally illegal.
I was gonna ask that because I don't think that I could do that when we were growing up. And trust me, I'm sure my parents would have wanted to. So now the last thing is I'd like to touch on is we like to highlight a charity or an organization that you're passionate about for every episode. I know that you said that you had one. Would you like to talk about it?
Yeah, it's a New York City animal rescue organization called Zany's Furry Friends. And they take animals from kill shelters, and they also do international adoptions of animals that are needing homes. And they do such a phenomenal job. And that's where my animals come from. And so I want to just applaud them. During COVID times, they have really stepped up and provided a lot of families who are in need of an animal for support and love during these difficult times, a loving pet and a loving home.
That's okay. Wow. Thank you. Do you have any last words for us? Where can our listeners follow you?
I think the best advice is to follow me at my website, www.gottatravelsolo.com. That's GOTTA, travelsolo.com. And you can get all my media handles on that and my upcoming performances and workshops in storytelling, ukulele, and adventures.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the Revisionary Podcast, Nina. I really appreciated having you.
My pleasure.
The Revisionary Podcast.
I must say, that was a fun story. Nina certainly took me for a bit of an adventure. I did not see some of those twists coming. I didn't know where it was going. Kept me on my toes the entire time, so I'm glad she came on. And as always, I want to thank you guys for supporting the Revisionary Podcast. Keep listening. Please continue to give those ratings. Again, the contest is still going on, but it's coming to an end soon. I believe the winner will be announced at the end of January, early February. So that's exciting, really exciting news. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you check out Bullhorn. Their app and I have been working together. And we're working on a very exciting project, so I can't wait to let you guys in on it and let you guys experience it for yourselves. For now, I can't give you too many more details, but just be on the lookout. Make sure you go check out Bullhorn. Go ahead and use their app. Make sure you're following the Revisionary Podcast. And as always, I want to say this is Juan Carlos, and thank you for listening.
This is